Today's episode of Artifactually Speaking isn't exactly written in stone, but maybe in brick? I'm archaeologist Dr. Brad Hafford at the University of Pennsylvania, and I am excavating here at the ancient city of Nimrud, or Kalhu, or Kalah. It has many names. It sits in northern Iraq near the modern city of Mosul. And today I'm sitting here in the brickyard. It's really just a makeshift area where we are putting the examples of inscribed bricks from our excavation, and we have a whole lot of them. We find so many that are inscribed, of course, but there's only a few complete inscriptions that are represented. So in other words, they copied inscription over and over and over. And this one is from King Ashurnasirpal II, and he did so much building here that's not surprising. And it does start out with his name, son of Tukulti-Ninurta, and it tells us that he's the great king, the mighty king, the king of the world, the king of the universe. He's claiming it all. He says, I'm king of everything, you'll listen to me. Well, we'll hear more about these inscriptions and about cuneiform since I've studied it, but it's not my specialty. And we will talk with Dr. John MacGinnis from the British Museum here in just a minute to hear what he has to say.
Hi Brad, and good afternoon, and it is a wonderful balmy afternoon here on site in Nimrud. This is a brick of Shalmaneser III. He's an Assyrian king who ruled from 859 to 824 BC. And we know that because it's written in this writing here. It's called cuneiform writing. It's the script which developed in Mesopotamia from around 3000 BC onwards. It's actually one of the world's longest continually used scripts. It went on until early in the 1st century AD. Now, the Assyrian kings, when they built their monuments, their temples, their palaces, their monumental walls and so on, they liked to inscribe a lot of their bricks so that future people who came across them would know who it was who had done this, and they would be remembered. And it worked. Here we are, over 2,500 years later, and we can tell you that it was Shalmaneser who did that. So, to tell you exactly what it says Shalmaneser, strong king, great king, king of the universe, king of Assyria, son of Ashurnasirpal, the same titles, great king, strong king, king of the universe, king of Assyria, son of Tukulti-Ninurta, with an abbreviated form, the same epithets, just king of Assyria here. So those first 6 lines are the genealogy, and just the last 2 tell us what this is all about. And it says construction of the ziggurat Nimrud. It doesn't even say in Nimrud. It says construction of the ziggurat in Nimrud. Well, there's a number of interesting things to say about this. One is that it says it's construction of the ziggurat. It wasn't found in the ziggurat. It was found in the temple of Ishtar. That is admittedly very close by. But it's quite common that these building inscriptions are found in what we might call the wrong place. And that's because they were mass-produced, mass-manufactured, and the builders, the craftsmen building the ziggurat, the temples and so on, they probably didn't care which brick went where, at least to a degree. So this brick strayed a little bit and was found in a part of the upper collapse layers of the temple of Ishtar, which Brad is excavating.
We have a whole lot of them. You can see some right out here behind me. Most are fragmentary and most are found in the collapse layers. We've kind of got 2 layers, an upper collapse layer and a lower one. Upper collapse is above the preserved areas of the actual walls that are intact, and the lower is inside the intact walls. So when a wall collapses, everything above kind of comes in and fills the rooms. And so then you get that upper collapse of everything that's jumbled. It's really hard to dig through. Now, not all of that is baked brick, though, because this temple, even though it was really large, was built with sun-dried brick. It was just mud brick, not baked hard except by the sun. So it's clay still, but it's really hard because of the drying of it. Some of the bricks, though, they did actually bake completely hard, like a brick we would think of today. And those they would use in structural places. We're finding a bunch in the upper collapse, and that makes me wonder how they used them. And it looks like they did it as supports for beams or vaults in the ceiling. We know that they did use vaulted gateways, and they would need springers for that, and they would need to be very strong. So with very thick mud brick walls. You could support the baked brick at the tops and then use that to help support all of your roofing. And digging this big is just incredible. We have to go through so much material, and some of it is just so hard that we have to use big picks to pull it out. That's that collapse layer. Once we get down near the floor, we have a lot of the burned ash and everything else. It gets easier, and that's where we start to get floor deposits, which are so important for understanding what happened when the building actually burned and fell in, how much was left behind. And did he really think he was king of the universe as we would think?
That's a really good question. I think he felt that he was king of the bits of the world which are worth being king of. He didn't think he was king of the entire creation. Even he would have thought that was a step too far. That would have been assigned to the chief god of the Assyrian pantheon, who was called Ashur. And there were thousands of gods in Assyria, maybe a couple of dozen senior ones, a couple of hundred quite important ones, and then really a limitless number of minor gods, very localized gods, personal gods, and so on. So when he calls himself king of the universe, it doesn't really mean universe the way we think of it. And there's an interesting linguistic twist here as well. The word is Shar Kishati. So Shar means king of, Kishati means the universe. But it's also a play on the word Kish, which was the name of a very ancient Mesopotamian city in the south of Iraq, in what was Sumer. It was a very special city in the evolution of Sumerian ideology. And it may be that this title, King of the Kishness, is a reflection of that ideology.
Well, and speaking of the south, I mean, we get a lot of inscribed bricks at Ur, but they're using a brick stamp. And this doesn't look like a stamp to me. Did scribes really just write every brick?
As far as we can tell, in this case, yes, they did. And then when we've been working at Nineveh, we found the same. We've had a large number of bricks there, again, which appear to have been written out by hand. Maybe there was no shortage of labour, maybe there was no shortage of labour, but I thought there would have been a shortage of skilled labour, and maybe it's a punishment. Maybe they were told to go and write out 100 bricks.
All right, well, very interesting. Thank you for sharing with us, John.
Well, thank you, folks, for visiting Nimrud virtually.
So I hope you enjoyed exploring these Assur-Nasr-Pal bricks with me, with all of their cuneiform, and that you'll join me again on the next Artifactually Speaking.